Now that you have your warm and cool color, I want you to choose one of them, and we're going to create a value scale using one color, ranging from light to dark values. And since we're still using black as our paper, you're going to put more pressure on the light side of your value scale, and as you are working your way towards the darker side, you're going to use less pressure. So again, adjusting your hand higher on the pencil to apply less pressure, making sure you're being nice and neat and staying in the lines. Look at how those values are gradually fading from light to dark. Now, if you notice, because I'm using orange, we have, a full range of value from light to dark. However, we're missing a little bit of that white. So what we can do is go in with the white charcoal and a little bit on the edge, start bringing in harder pressure white, and then gradually fade it out. So let go of some of your pressure until you fade it out to how you like it. And after you fade it out, you also want to go back in with your color and kind of just overlap that a little bit, because remember, when we overlap our values, it kind of gets rid of that stripiness and make it look like more of an even transition. From there, you can see that I had already finished the value scale below before I did add in a little bit of white. So we're going to go in and learn about a color gradation now. So using your warm and cool colors, you are going to start off with your warm color. I'm writing which warm color I'm using, and then I'm also going to write down the cool color that I'm using. Because I chose orange, blue is that complementary pair. So whatever warm color you choose or cool color, it needs to do with the pair of that color. So again, still creating a value scale. Notice how I am using more pressure on the far end, and as I'm working my way towards the blue, I'm starting to use less and less pressure, just like a normal value scale. Doing the same thing on the opposite end, more pressure blue, because that's all the way on the blue side, so it's going to be the most pressure blue. And as we're transitioning into the orange side, we want to use less and less pressure, because these values are going to start overlapping one another. As you are overlapping these values, you want to keep switching back and forth between your warm and cool color until there's a nice even transition between the two colors, and it's gradually fading from blue into orange and then orange into blue, or whatever two colors you have chosen. For this example, it was orange and blue. As we work our way down, we are going to start our form. You can create any form other than a sphere in this box. We are going to use contrast to eliminate any outlines, but we always start with drawing the shape. Notice how light I am drawing. We always draw light until it's right. Over here, I decided to do the bottom right as my light source instead of the top right, just to change it up a little bit since we did the top right for the sphere. Now that I've blocked in my overall shape, I'm going to start adding value. And I'm going to use two different values of orange, a darker one and a lighter one. The lighter one I'm putting more towards where my highlight would be. Later I am going to go back in with the white charcoal to kind of pull that highlight more. Then I'm going to use the regular orange as like my mid-tones, going on either side of where my highlight would be. Here is where I come in with the white charcoal, just putting a nice little strip where my highlight is directly hitting. Because it is coming from that bottom right, I am making it more pressure towards the bottom and a little bit less as it goes up to the top. I also don't want it to look stripy, so I'm going over with my lighter orange to kind of blend that out. And I'm going to do the same thing with my regular orange, just so that it's a nice, smooth, and even transition. Just like a value scale, it's gradually fading from light to dark. As we are transitioning into those darker values, what's really cool about warm and cool colors, those complementary pairs that we are using, is that they each have a warm and cool color. And with these warm and cool colors, we're going to learn that warm colors actually pop forward and cool colors recede. So right now, I'm still adding a little bit of that warm color for my reflected light, but then in the core of my shadow, where it does get a little bit dark, I am gonna add some blue that I am going to transition into my orange. You'll notice that I do wanna keep a little bit of black of my paper showing in the very, very core of my shadow, because it is really dark right there. So be careful to not cover it completely. In a moment, you will see me kind of go back in with an eraser to kind of pull some of the black of the paper back in, and just like enough on the edge for a little bit of my reflected light. Keeping in mind that cool colors recede in space, I do want to color my entire background using a cool color. Right here for my cast shadow, I am blocking it out until it like hits my wall. I'm erasing it so that it's like a really light blue or a darker valued blue, so that my surface of the table can be a brighter blue, since this, the light source is still hitting the table. So I do want, that emphasis of contrast between my complements. And I also want blue to kind of show that illusion of space. So I'm going to use more pressure on my table where my form is sitting on. Also trying to keep the same direction in my pencil strokes, keeping my pencil strokes very close together to keep my craftsmanship looking nice and neat, applying my value very evenly. And I will continue this process until I cover the entire surface area that my form is sitting on. I also want to note that my cast shadow does not have a point. Therefore, the point of the shadow is technically hitting the wall behind my form. So I did want to put a little bit of emphasis on how that is happening in the background by pulling the shadow upwards. I'm going to continue to finish my foreground first and block in all of my brighter blue values on the surface before I go in and do a little bit of a darker valued blue for the background. Hope you enjoyed this process, and I can't wait to see what form you choose and what complementary colors you choose. When you finish, be sure to take a photo of page 42 in your sketchbooks and make sure you attach it under the charcoal practice assignment. Here you can see that I'm finishing up my charcoal. Notice how when I go over the same spot a little too many times, it's starting to lose that tooth of the paper, even though I didn't erase. So just keep in mind that pastels and the charcoal medium can be a little finicky in that sense, and you just want to be careful not to overwork your paper. Some of you might have learned how that can happen already. Even with pencil, you can overwork your paper, but it's even easier to do this with the pastel and charcoal medium. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I can't wait to see how your forms have turned out using complementary colors.